to my very first Put a Finger Down, where we are going to test here if you have ADHD. Put a finger down if you struggle from emotional dysregulation. Put a finger down if you have rejection sensitivity. Put a finger down if you have intense mood swings. Put a finger down if you've struggled with anxiety or depression in the past. Put a finger down if you've ever had issues with sensory or have had sensory difficulties. If you put more than 3 fingers down, I'm here to tell you that you have symptoms of ADHD, BPD, and autism spectrum disorder. If you've ever seen a video like that on TikTok, like on your For You page, do you have ADHD, BPD, and you check off all the boxes, there's a chance that you might actually believe you could have this disorder. Today, we are going to be sharing some stories of people who have gone through similar circumstances. A lot of the time, these people are told by trusted loved ones, or they see it on the internet and they genuinely believe that it's real. Today, we're going to be hearing stories about people who thought that they had autism spectrum disorder and dissociative identity disorder, but it turned out that they just didn't. I don't know these people's ages, but the fact that they realized what they were doing was wrong and that's when they decided to take action shows a lot about their character, in my opinion. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, thank you so much, and let's get into the video. I used to fake DID a few years ago. I used to say I had all these K-pop factives. I liked K-pop back then, and I still do. And I said I just didn't have amnesia. I also said I had like 70 plus alters. When my family or anyone confronted me about it, I would freak out. I really didn't want to admit that I was faking. I also tried to convince myself that I had the disorder. Okay, this is a shorter post, but there's so much to delve into here. The reaction that these people who believe they have these disorders have, in my opinion, is similar to any kind of maladaptive behavior that you might be addicted to. There are so many different ones that you latch onto, such as ED, SH, substance use. The reaction that a person might have when they believe they have a disorder and they're called out for maybe not having it is similar, in my opinion, to these maladaptive behaviors. You can get more or less addicted, I use that term loosely, to these hyperfixations in your life. This can be a form of escapism for you, whether or not you're going through a hard time in your life or you're just looking for a way to cope. In a lot of these stories we read, these people are part of online communities, or their friends IRL are like faking or all believe they have it, so it's like you just want this validation from other people, and so it's hard to blame a lot of these people, especially when they're under the age of 18. This form of escapism can be similar to, say, substance use, because you are avoiding real life problems. Kind of like a tolerance, these individuals will have to keep coming up with more elaborate stories to continue getting this attention and validation. But throughout this maladaptive practice, you are further and further losing your own identity. Someone asked, is there a reason why you did it? Why you chose to fake this specific disease and not something else? Did you need therapy to stop faking and get better, or did you stop on your own? I won't judge you, whatever the reasons are. It's just curiosity and trying to understand. I think it's good you decided to stop and that you are admitting to everyone you were faking. Someone else in the comments responded, and I can respect this so much because I can imagine it's hard to admit to faking something, but it's very brave to help other people in the future. I'm not OP, but I think I can help as someone who used to be in the same boat. I started faking during quarantine, which was a very high stress time for me. The stress made me float, I guess, and my perception of time and reality got wonky. Like, I'd have bouts of thinking that I wasn't real, or I was actually X person and born in the wrong body, or accidentally switched bodies. I don't know how much of this was an actual thing and how much of it was in my head, but at some point one of my alters started talking to me. And then I came to the conclusion I had OSDD1B, and then more and more alters sprang up. I think I was literally talking to myself in my head, but using different voices. All of our switches were just one voice freaking out, and then another voice, quote unquote, taking control. Kind of like an internal support system of people that are immediately like, oh, don't worry, I can handle this. It was definitely a coping mechanism, but it definitely was not OSDD. It went away and I took some time offline, which eliminated a pretty large stressor and made me stop posting and thinking about it as much, and rapidly faded away when quarantine ended, and I was finally able to reintegrate into society and not feel like S-word every day. Attention was not something that was really on the forefront of my mind. From a very young age, 5th or 6th grade, I consciously started thinking that something was wrong with me. I can appreciate this comment section because a lot of people faking isn't directly because they want attention. It can be a desire to validate and label your pain. This is why I feel the way I do. The original poster describes how they were trying to convince themselves that they did have the disorder. Maybe you're going through like the diagnostic criteria and you're like, oh, Well, yeah, I do that, right? With all of these viral trends and challenges, misinformation, pseudo-experts, echo chambers, and lack of verifiable information, it can be a breeding ground for believing you have a disorder that you really don't, and you could spread misinformation on it without even realizing it. Even people who are diagnosed with disorders can accidentally spread misinformation for various reasons. Whether they believe something that is just them and not their disorder is a part of their disorder and they share that, or their symptoms are different than other people's. Autism fakers convinced me I had it. A while back, when I was first granted access to the internet around 16, I stumbled across this group of people who played Minecraft SMP. They were all faking DID. MCYT alters, DSMP, plural kit, the works. Psychosis, DAs. I actually don't know what that is. Autism, talking in emojis when nonverbal, apologizing for stimming cutely, oh my gosh, slurs in VC, voice chat. Naturally, when they started talking about their issues at home, it was really basic stuff like parents not respecting them, making them clean up for siblings' mistakes, normal average stuff. And I was like, my home life sucks way more. Why don't I have issues? And then they were all like, you poor baby, clearly you have autism and depression, yada yada. Before this point, my only experience with mental illness was an old friend I lost touch with on purpose after he stole things and hurt himself and other people due to his mental illness. It was awful. I was absolutely terrified of getting called autistic, especially because the only information my parents had ever given me was that autism, along with other mental illnesses, was just an excuse to be lazy and do crazy, rude stuff. I was worried that I was being lazy and not doing crude things without even realizing. I went to my parents, talked about it, and they said, you don't have autism. Now, of course, I know they were absolutely right, but at the time, I had gotten this idea into my head that I was secretly being a horrible, awful person and that autism was the only explanation for my actions. I'm glad I'm better now, but maybe my experience will explain at least some of the huge wave of fakers. First of all, this person's parents' understanding of mental illness is unfortunately a reality of some people's opinions, but it's unfortunate, especially because I hope you know, I'm sure you understand, that mental illness is absolutely not an excuse to be lazy or do crude things. It's actually something you cannot help, but then there's these people on the internet faking it. It doesn't make your disorder look better. I forgot the metaphor, but it's like, you know, it's the one drop of like badness in a well of goodness and it's like ruined. I don't know how to describe it. Again, this person just got access to the internet. They were put into a situation where, I mean, in hindsight is 2020, but it would have been great if they would have just left. But you have to look that they were 16 years old. But this person was also looking for an explanation for the pain that they were going through. Even the people on the sub who were complaining about like their parents making them babysit their kids. What do you guys think? How do you feel that certain mental illnesses are portrayed on the internet? It can actually be really helpful for a lot of people to connect and feel like they're not completely alone in the world. And I don't want to discredit those communities, but I guess when it gets to a point of like enabling people not to get better or to exaggerate symptoms, that can be when it gets harmful. At the end of the day, these people sharing their experience can help us to understand why people are faking disorders. It's natural to get angry, especially if you are struggling on a daily basis with said disorder. But if we can think about not the fact that they're faking, but maybe why they're faking in the first place, we can have a little bit of an easier sleep at night. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, turn the bell on if you're feeling risky, and comment below. Thank you so much. It helps with the algorithm. Thank you so much to each and every one of my members. I appreciate you guys so much. When I upload this, I'm going to be in Thailand, so if you guys want to check out my Thailand vlogs, that would be very much appreciated. And to everyone, have a good day, night, whatever the case may be, and peace out.